Now here we are before Macbeth's castle, and we're going to unpack this short scene very briefly here. One of the first things that I frequently hear from students is, what's a hautboy? It says in the text, hautboy. Well, that's an oboe. It's just the old way that they would write it, and it was pronounced oboe. So it's the music that would accompany the king wherever he goes. The character of Duncan is fleshed out in a few scenes throughout the play in the very opening before he's killed. And one of the things to note is that most people play Duncan as a noble king, a good king, an honorable king. And certainly if the king represents ideologically the reason or the nobility itself, then if he's killed, that would be a very bad thing. But one of the interesting ambiguities that Shakespeare creates is that this Duncan character is not that good a guy. First off, he has allowed a civil war to break out and has put an absolute trust on Cawdor, as he himself says, and Cawdor betrays him, and he completely blindsided by it. So he's failed as a ruler to see men who might be bad before they turn bad. And it does the same thing twice with Macbeth, of course. Second, he doesn't realize that his appointing of the Prince of Cumberland is going to cause problems, and he just openly presents Prince of Cumberland in front of everybody, and that's what sets Macbeth off. The third thing is that here we see him with these high noble sentiments, but these high noble sentiments are frequently in contrast to what the reality of the situation is. So Duncan says here, in a sort of a hyperbolic way of talking, "This castle hath a pleasant seat, the air nimbly and sweetly." Nimble, sweet, pleasant. It sounds very overdone almost. It's almost like Duncan is playing up the role, "Look, I'm king," or something. And Banquo plays right into that, it seems like. Banquo continues to butter up the king by saying, "Yes, and look, there are these birds that fly here, these martlets. And I've heard that these birds fly in places that are noble, and the air is fresh, the air is delicate." So it's almost like Duncan has around him sycophantic men, almost. And notice the irony. The air is delicate. Enter Lady Macbeth. Wonderful, delicious irony. Because, of course, Lady Macbeth, who has invoked spirits to take her milk for gall, for vinegar, comes out and, oh, she's so delicate, yes. Well, Duncan gives the normal greeting to her, and she says, "Everything is at your service," of course. And Duncan then again calls the Thane of Cawdor a noble man. He rides well, right? And you are a noble hostess. So we get again the imagery that Macbeth is actually deemed a fairly decent fellow. And Lady Macbeth says, well, our pleasures is to do you service. And everything is at your disposal. And at that, then Duncan says, well, give me your hand and conduct me to my host. And they go into the lair of Lady Macbeth. And Duncan enters in without thinking that anything might be wrong, being completely duped, led into like a lamb to the slaughter, led into the castle where he's going to meet his death. And that brings us then to Act 1, Scene 7. And in this scene we get probably one of the more famous soliloquies that Macbeth gives. And we also get the encouragement of Macbeth by Lady Macbeth to follow through on the deed and commit this murder that they have planned together. Let's read the text together.